Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I've been in the garden all morning since before daylight. I moved a huge wash tub that I had filled over in another handmade kennel that I built years ago, and I shoveled some of that out and put it in those raised beds that are back there in that kennel, and I drug my wash tub all the way out and put it in the middle of my garden spot. So we have our focal point. I've put one cucumber, which is two vines, a cantaloupe, and a watermelon in that just to see how it's going to go. The rest of them are going to go over into that area. I've kind of chopped and I've added extra soil to it. I'm going to add some of this ooky stuff to it and chop that up in there because I know that those kind of vines absolutely love ooky stuff. And there's nothing ookier than the center of my garden right now. Mm-mm. It's ooky and smelly. Okay, so I've been working in there. I've been moving flowers around. I've got my bird cages in there. I'm trying to figure out which pot looks better and where I'm going to sit them once I get everything in the center done and get all my other stuff put away. I'm going to start planting seeds in little pots and just sitting them in there. I need to straw the floor, and my chickens, they got into my little half stack of straw and it's all over there. So I'm just going to put all of that into the garden. It's fresh. What I also might do is just kind of sprinkle DE on it a little bit, sprinkle the ground with DE a little bit, and put that into the garden spot. So that has to be done as soon as I get um, the center finished. It's going to look cool. I'm going to have trellises going out of the garden everywhere. Beans and cucumbers and all of these viney things. It's going to make this little spot. I'm excited. It's really working out well, even though I smell like I belong in the sewer. I smell like a sewer rat. Okay, I want to talk about these Indio Giganta chickens. Now, I'm going to say something. I have raised lots of little chicks. Lots of little chicks. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The little bodies and the little legs are so tiny on these birds, and they're supposed to be getting up to 3 foot tall. Here's my thing. They're a very fragile baby. And something you want to watch if you start it are their legs. Their legs are longer per se than a, comparable to its little body. They remind me of little bantam chickens. I mean, if you watch that video, you can see how big one of mine, and that's actually really a small hen that I hatched out of mine this time with them. Um, I've hatched much bigger chicks, um, and these are quite small. But something I noticed is when they bend down, they sprout a leg. So if you have one that wants to do that sprout a leg and crawl all the time, that's not going to help them muscles straighten them up to stand up tall. So I have one that was really concerning me. It was just staying sprout a leg, and I was like, oh no. You know, I've seen videos where people put the bands on them and so on and so forth, and I'm like, ugh. So I decided, since it was still only like maybe 8 hours old at that time, maybe not even that old. I put it in my hand and I would use my finger, like I would let it stand there, and then I would use my finger to pull that foot back in and make them straight in my hand. So I was kind of doing some stuff, and I went back in there, and it's not doing it as much. So every time I hold this little chick, I'm going to make certain that I push that foot in and not let him sprout a leg on my hand. Something else too is I noticed I'm going to have to raise my water. I did raise my little water dish up so that they didn't have to bend down to drink. Something else you want to look at, even though they're teeny, they still have that big bird bulkiness as far as having to get down, spread their legs to get down, to peck on the ground, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to modify what I normally do with my chicks to these chicks. So I don't know. I'm just playing in the garden. My feet smell like sewer. The bottom of my dress smells like sewer, or skirt. Oh, what was that? I'm hoping it was just a pine needle. All right, let's see. There's a lot of things that we can talk about, and I just want to understand. I just want to understand. I made a video and I talked about the white South Africans coming here. And I made it very clear that if people come here as immigrants or want to be here under protective services, or the protection that we will give them for asylum, not from being from asylum, in asylum, I'm all for that. But I'm all for that for everyone. Okay? From what I've read about these Africanas, or whatever they call themselves, um, you know, that some of the stuff that's being said is not true. Um, I don't want to go and defame people. If they are refugees and if they are oppressed and they are under threat of their lives, then yes, they should be here. But the very same day they took temporary protection status away from other people who were here actually running for their lives. That's a problem. The very day they're taking TPS away from other immigrants who have run for their lives to the United States of America. I can't I can't understand the mentality of knowing that there are people here other than white people under protective services. That's what the Haitians were in Ohio and across the nation. And as a matter of fact, the bill for them coming in was in Trump's last administration. But everybody threw out, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and it wasn't true. Those Haitians were under protective situations. And most of those Haitians were doctors, lawyers, realtors, educated people. So they knew how to get out of their country to come here and provide a workforce as manual labor in factories. I'm comparing the Haitians. I'm not going to compare. I am trying to see if that is raw. I don't want him hurting Tut. Hold on. I've got to go see if it's him. Rah. It was Tut. It wasn't Raw, but anyway. So when someone comes on my channel and comments about the Africanas or whatever they call themselves, and they want to say that, I don't know, I don't even remember what the comments were, but they were stupid. Stupid. Not at all intelligent, not at all using critical thinking skills, not at all looking at the whole picture. They just look at the white picture. That really makes me angry. I have never been a racist. I will never be a racist. And people say, well, when you say you're not a racist, you're a racist. I'm not. Not at all. And it really hurt me to see what they did to the Haitians and what they did to Ohio over there. It was horrible. Nazi, supremacists, freaking white supremacist, KKK, I don't know, there were some boys there that, the one I saw, they had their little khaki pants. Were those the same ones that couldn't get through the New York subway styles? Whatever. You ought to look that up. That was funny. That was absolutely hilarious. I probably wouldn't be able to get through the subway system either. They would have to show me how to do that. But when you see so many of them guys and they're not getting through and they're marching around New York like they are such badasses. The subway kicked theirs. All right, you guys. I just wanted to make a comment because I read those two comments on my white lies video. And guess what? It just proves the point how stupid people are. And yeah, I call those people stupid because they they read into this propaganda. They don't go read the true things. They don't go read the stories of each one of these people or groups or the families or the kids. They don't look at the whole picture. And they don't understand how someone could question that when the very day that they're here, TPS is taken away from other people who are actually running from their lives. Were they Iranians or Iraqis? I really can't remember. I know they were Middle Eastern people. And then, of course, the Haitians. I mean, it's mind boggling and disturbing that this is our country. And I honestly believe we're going to end up like Mad Max. And I made a comment on another channel about, this is how they're leading us to Mad Max. And this person replied and said, hey, that's what the Cybertruck looks like. You know, y'all have a great day. Oh, because they're wanting to fight immigrants for immigration. That's something else we need to talk about. I should have mentioned that. We'll talk about that. Y'all have a great day. Hugs from a distance. I need to go sit down and relax for a little bit. Well, no, because it sounds like I need to go direct some roosters. Y'all have a great day. Hugs from a distance.